How's it going, guys? I hope this is working. It should. So this is working with integers. I know that got cut off there, but that's what we're doing here. And just going to go over the answers that were posted in our class website. I'm going to use this blue pen here. Hopefully that works nice and clear. First up, you're going to add and subtract these integers. So whenever you see two signs, what we like to do is we like to get rid of them. And what you have over here, is if two signs are side by side, what you want to do is turn them into one sign. So if there is a plus beside a plus, you're going to make that into a plus. If there's a minus and a plus, you're going to make it into two minuses, it's going to be a positive. So whenever the signs are the same, you turn it into a positive. Whenever the signs are different, like here, you're going to make that a negative. So here, before you try this, you got 4 minus 6. You take the minus and the minus, and they're the same, and you turn it into a plus. And you got 4 plus 6. Done. That's 10. Then you just go through here, and then you ask yourself, in question number 2, you ask yourself the same thing. Are there situations where that's the case? Are there signs side by side? If not, you can just take the bracket off. So, for example, in the first one here, it's just minus 3, so you just make it negative 3. This is plus and a negative. Different signs turns into a negative. Just one sign, leave it as is. It's a negative. Plus and a plus turns into a plus. And then you add these up, and you get negative 7. Same sort of thing when it comes to signs for multiplication and division. You're going to just find the number itself. So 3 times 6 is 18. And then you ask yourself, what's the sign? If there's one negative, then the answer is negative. Same with this one here. There's one negative, so your answer is negative. There's one negative in a division question, so the answer is negative. Here I have 2 negatives. 2 negatives make it positive, so then it's a positive. What's the number answer? Well, 3 times 6 is 18. 7 times 5 is 35. This division gets you 4. This division gets you 3. And the sign, like we said, was determined by the number of negatives. So hopefully that works. Bed math can be confusing. Do your best. And in this question, you're going to multiply first. So bed math means do brackets, then exponents, division and multiplication, addition and subtraction. So here you ask yourself, what's first? I have subtraction, I have multiplication. The multiplication comes first. I do that first. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And then 5 subtract 12 is minus 7. Same with this one here. These guys here are being multiplied. So multiplication goes before addition. You get your minus 8 when you multiply these two. Then you get 5, add 5 to it. So my 5s sometimes look a little weird. That's a 5 there. And minus 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Exponents first. So this one's difficult. So this one here I just made a note of. It's minus. So we went through this in class. This squared is different than this. So it's not in a bracket. So when you have this minus 3 squared, if there's a bracket, the answer is positive. If there's no bracket, the answer is negative. So that was early on in the course. But if you remember that, that's kind of the rule we have for exponents. So 10 minus 9, because 3 times 3, or 3 squared is 9, is 1. And that's your answer. Here you're going to go bracket first. This one's a tough one. Bracket first. 4 plus 2 is 6. And then you're going to use the exponent here and square it to get 36. So I have 36 minus 20 divided by 2. So now I ask myself, what goes first, subtraction or division? Division goes first. So I divide first to get minus 10 on the right side and end up with 26. And that's a tough one. That's why I wrote, wow. Okay, so that's page 1. The answers are there. Page 2. Lowest term fractions. So what you ask yourself is, what number goes into both 9 and 12? And you try to get the biggest number and divide them into both 9 and 12. So what goes into 9? 1, 3, and 9. And what goes into 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. And the biggest number that I see in both of these columns is in both of these groups is 3. So you're going to divide both the top and the bottom by 3 to get 3 over 4. Same here, 15. 15 has divisors of 1 and 15, 3 and 5. 20 has 1, 20, 2, 10, 4, 5. And then the biggest number in both of these groups is 5. So you're going to divide by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 20 divided by 5 is 4. But you must also leave the sign there. So you can ignore the sign, but you can't get rid of it. Okay, so you can ignore it when you're doing the math. You don't have to say what goes into minus 15 or what goes into minus 20. You just deal with it at the end. You say, look, my answer is going to be negative when I'm all said and done. It's all said and done. Adding and subtracting fractions. So here you need a common denominator. In this case, you can always do what I'm going to do in number 4 here and say the common denominator is going to be 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to jump to 4 first and say 3 and 5, they both go into 15. And then to do that, to get 15 on the left side, you have to multiply the bottom by 5, then you multiply the top by 5. On the right side, to get 15, you have to multiply by 3. And then if you multiply the bottom by 3, you multiply the top by 3. So that's times 3 here. That looks a little funny. So now I have 1 times 5 is 5 over 15. 4 times 3 is 12 over 15. And then because this is subtracting, that is also subtracting. And then when you add or subtract, you don't touch the bottoms. You don't touch the denominator. So the 15s stay the same. I have 5 15ths, and I subtract 12 15ths, and I end up with minus 7 15ths. Now you could have, on the left here, said, look, 15 is the lowest common denominator. You could say, let's make it 50, but you don't have to do that. What you do is you say to yourself, what's the lowest number that 5 and 10 go into? And it's actually 10. So you can leave the right side the way it is, and the left side, to get 10 on the bottom, you're going to have to multiply by 2, and if you multiply the bottom by 2, you have to multiply the top by 2. So you end up with 6 over 10 plus 7 over 10, and that gets you 13 over 10. When you multiply or divide, when you multiply, you're going to multiply the tops and the bottoms. Okay, so you multiply the numerators and the denominators. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. 8 over 15. You can reduce sometimes. In this case, you can't. And the next one you will be able to. So number 6, the way to divide is to flip this guy. You multiply by the reciprocal, we call it. So you say 3/4 times 7 6. So you flip this guy over. Okay, so you flip it over, and now I have 3 times 7 is 21, and 4 times 6 is 24. And when that's done, that's fine as an answer, but that can be reduced, which sometimes is helpful, sometimes not always helpful, but sometimes it is. So what you would do is you would say, what number goes into 21 and 24? And what you just do is you say to yourself, what goes into 21, and then see if it goes to 24. So does 1 go into 24? Yeah, it does, but that's not going to help. Does 21? No. So what else goes into 21? Well, 3 times 7 is 21. So does 3 go into 24? Yeah, it does. It goes 8 times. What about 7? Does 7 go? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we're going to divide each of these by 3, the top by 3 and the bottom by 3. So divide by 3 and 3, and then you get 7 over 8. That's the lowest terms. So that's that. This stuff here, converting. Get your calculator out. 3 divided by 5 gets you 0.6 or 0.60. Either is fine, and then multiply that by 100 to get 60%. So if that's already a decimal, you multiply by 100 to get 25%, and then put it in a fraction form, 25 over 100. And then if you can reduce that, you can. So 25 over 100 is a quarter. It reduces to 1/4 because 25 goes in the top and the bottom. This one here was 10%. So here we multiply by 100 to go here. You would divide by 100 to go this way. Okay, to go from percent to decimal. So divide by 100 to get 0.10. 0.10 is 10 over 100. Okay, or 10% is 10 over 100, and then that's divisible by 10, both top and bottom to 1/10. Oh, that's weird. And we're almost done. This one's, don't do it this way. I was going to do it this way. Don't do it that way. Just cross multiply. When you have a fraction like this, what you want is there's the x, you take the 5, you bring it across, and if there's a fraction on both sides of an equal sign, you move it from the bottom of the fraction to the top of the fraction, or vice versa. So I had a 5 on the bottom, now I bring it to the top. So let me just show you how that works. The 5 goes from here to here, and it's on the bottom, so it goes to the top, and when it goes to the top, it multiplies. So I go 60 times 5 is 300, divide that by 75. You can put this on your calculator, and put that in lowest terms. You can divide by 5. So if you look at this and go, wait, can that be lower? Well, what number goes into both of these? 5 does. And 5 goes 60 times here, and it goes, 5 is going to be 15 on the bottom. So you can keep going and go, oh, 5 goes into both of these. That goes 5 times, that goes 3 times. And then you keep going, and that's 4. The answer is 4. Okay, you could have done that on your own. You could have said 300 divided by 75 is 4. But if you don't see that, you can put in lowest terms and keep going. And then to get a percent of a number, you just multiply. 70 times 30%. or 70 times 0.3. If you have a calculator that can do this for you, use it. Either way, you get 21. And that's it. Hope that wasn't too hard. The first assessment will be just like this, so don't worry about it. If you can get this, you can get anything. Take care. Bye.